Hello, everybody, and welcome to the second episode of Building Valenhardt, the series in which I show off the process of building the survival map I call Valenhardt. That's a bit of a mouthful, but in today's episode, we'll be moving away from land builds and move towards the shore, where I'll be making a coastal town. Now, I plan to have this build be a trading town, with docks for sea trade, and on the other side of the river there'll be farmland for which the contents of the farm will be traded. And lastly, a manor house, for this town's leader to reside in. So, to begin, I'll start by first making a test house, so that I know in and around what kind of style I'm thinking of for the rest of the buildings. Now that I have a style and outline chosen, I can begin clearing out the bushes so that I can start terraforming. With the bushes and grass cleared and the terraforming down, I can begin laying down a rough layout of the streets. I end up making the streets look a bit neater in the end because I end up not really liking how they look here. With the street layout done, I can also begin laying out where I want the houses to go. Now that the general layout for the town is done, I can start work on the manor house, where the ruler of this town resides. Every ruler needs a tall vantage point for which to oversee their people from, which is why I'll begin building stairs up to this hill. I'm thinking I kind of want a type of layered look to the steps, just to make the overall build feel a lot more grand. Now that the first layer of steps is complete, I can begin working on the base layer that the manor will sit on top of. And with the stairs completed, I can start figuring out what I want the manor to look like. I know I want the building material to be the same as the houses, so I'll begin by building the outline in the same type of block. Now that I'm happy with the shape of the manor, I'm going to build the outline of the roof, just to make sure I'm truly happy with the way the build looks. And with all the outlines finished, I can confidently say that I am loving how this town is turning out so far. But before I can begin adding details to the town, I'm going to shift my focus to across the bridge and start working on the farmland. So, to begin working on this farmland, I need to first clear out the brush, like I did for the other side. I'll then start making a path, but I then realize that I need to do some terraforming first to make sure the land is flat enough to farm on. And with that, I can begin planning out the paths. With the paths fully planned out, I'll build another bridge, and then I'll start the actual farm. For quite a while now, I've wanted to try building this layered rock wall farm design that I've seen online a lot lately, so I'm going to try my best at making my own version. Please don't mind the shape of that farm. I realize what it looks like very soon, and I change it, thankfully. I can then start work on the farmhead's abode and surrounding area by adding the finishing walls and building pens for the animals. Now, with the outlines done, we can start adding details, starting with a defensive tower, which can be used to spot unwanted visitors. Before we can start to add finishing details, I need to make sure to fix up everything that I need to real quick. And now that I'm certain that the layout is perfect, I can finish the paths up. Then I could start adding some height to the farm walls. After that, I'll add some moss for detail. And lastly, I'll shape the walls using slabs and stairs. And yep, so far the rock wall is looking absolutely perfect, as I hoped it would be. Now, the tower is good at spotting enemies, but we need a way to stop them from getting in, which is why I'll begin making a defensive wall for the farm. I'll then finish the animal pens and the farm keeper's house. Now, I can prepare to get the area ready for details by clearing out the dirt. Now that the dirt's all filled in, it's time to add some vegetation. That means I'll be adding some spruce, birch, and oak trees. Thankfully, the trees look very good here, and it makes the place look a lot less barren. Something else we could do to help is add some bushes as well as grass. This will hopefully make the ground feel a bit more busy and less flat. And lastly, to finish off the farm, we'll finally be adding some vegetables. With the vegetables done, I can now say that I'm very happy with how the farm turned out. All of the winding paths and walls really add to the organic feel of the build. And with the farm looking as good as I'd hoped, we can now shift our focus to the other side of the river. To start, I'll clear the vegetation from this area one last time to make way for a second housing zone. Then, I'll terraform this hill just to make sure that there's way for an entrance path. I'm also going to start reshaping a few areas, including the spot I plan to use for more housing. Now that the land is flattened, I'll begin adding the final house layouts along with an extra path. And to finish this spot off, we're going to add a retaining wall because I think retaining walls are pretty cool. Moving over to the sea for a bit, we'll build a dock so that this town can easily sea trade. Building the docking area is a little tricky at first, but I eventually figure out what I want. I'll then add some wooden docks for the ships to dock at. Then, after extending the dock slightly, I'll start work on filling the paths in. I'll then build a dirt path up this hill, which will lead to an ocean lookout tower. Sticking to the theme of towers, I'll make another dirt path up this hill to the field watchtower. Now, for the final layout, I'll figure out what shape I want for these houses. With that, I can move towards the entrance and begin working on some defenses for this town. This guard wall will connect from the Field Watch Tower to the Ocean Watch Tower, but not before connecting to the Royal Guard Tower, which makes sure enemies are swiftly defeated before ever reaching the manor. Once the wall path is done, I'll finish it off by adding a wall topper. I'll also do the same for the retaining wall. Moving over towards the town, we'll do something similar and add siding to the roads. This will make them feel more 3D and less like a 2D piece printed over top of the grass. With the roads looking a lot nicer, I'll begin by adding roofing to all the houses. Next, I'll fill in the walls to the houses while leaving spaces for the windows and doors. Now that all the structures are finished, I can then begin detailing. I'll start by really quickly adding some paths to all these houses. And now I can begin detailing the paths to make them feel more aged and walked on. Then, after that, I'll do the same for the roofing. Moving away from structure detail, I'll begin adding trees, just like I did for the farm. With the trees, again making this place look really nice, I can now start on the finishing details. Now that the town is done and looking very good, I can now start the final puzzle piece before we can call this place finished. The manor house. Starting this build off, I'll simply fill in the walls. Now that I'm fully certain that this is how I want the manor to look, I can begin filling in the roof as well. With the structure down, I can start adding some windows, as well as adding some details to the wall to make the build feel less flat and more purposeful. I'll then fix up the stairway to match the rest of the town, as well as doing the same for the roof to match the houses below. After that, in the yard surrounding the manor, I'll begin adding some trees to make the place feel less plain and more managed. I'll then add a back exit that leads to the Royal Watchtower. Now, I can add the finishing details to the front of the build. And with that, this coastal town is complete.